Hello, lovelies. This is 5 Minute Manifesting, and I'm your host, Lovey Brown. Thank you so much for listening. I'm thrilled that you're here. And I got a really great question by email that I want to share with you and make a podcast episode about it. And the question is it your focus that manifests? Or is it when you detach? Or what is the deal with the detachment and focusing? Like, which one is it? And I'm going to just briefly go over what I think the steps, or are some steps to manifesting that work for me, that I use. And I want to encourage you to put on your scientist hat and put on your scientist coat and practice and experiment for yourself and find out what works for you. Because and then I said that scientist hat thing, but it's not an exact science, right? Different things work for different people. So there's tons and tons of manifesting content out there in 2024. There was a little bit less in 2020 when I started this podcast. And even before that, in 2014, 2016, there was hardly any out there. It was really difficult to find, especially specific person content. And which is the reason I started this podcast in 2020 as just kind of a thing that I wanted to do to share the information that I had. So I think the steps for me that I think work really well are, first, knowing what you want. I think the first step in manifesting to get anything you want is knowing what that is. And sometimes you can kind of happen into a circumstance or a situation that turns out to be what you want. And you can kind of develop some beliefs around just everything working out for you. You know, Abraham Hicks has that affirmation that I frequently use, which is everything is always working out for me. And so that's the first step, is knowing what you want. And sometimes I take some time with this step. Like if there's an area of my life that I really want to focus on and manifest in or practice manifesting in, I take some time and say, like, what specific outcome would I want? And then some days I make a list of just different things that are easy, maybe not feel easy, but like that are just things that I think would be really great to experience. So getting clarity on what you want. And then the next step is focusing on what you want, making a deliberate choice in your mind and in your body and in your feelings, if it works for you that way. You don't have to have some sort of emotional connection if you don't have one. Don't try to force that. But really deciding what you want to focus on. This is where techniques come in. So techniques are really only in step 2. Techniques are what you use. We've talked about lots of techniques on this podcast. There are lots of techniques out there that we haven't talked about. It's just a way to focus your mind on what you want. So affirmations, visualization. And, we talked about drawing recently. I've shared the library technique recently, which is just a visualization technique. And you just choose what you want to do. And you can use all of those. You can use none of those. And you just, you do that. Do your focusing. Now, the question is about detachment. Now, like if you're affirming 10,000 times, or if you're really doing a visualization technique every morning and every evening, then that's your focus work. What about detachment? So I really think the next step can be, it doesn't have to be, a deliberate choice to detach from the outcome. Now, very often I don't deliberately choose to detach. I just stay in the focusing step for a while until occasionally for me, the focusing step gets frustrating or gets me like too focused on like looking for my manifestation. And when that happens, I make a deliberate choice to detach. So detachment usually for me comes from like my irritation or like I've just become frustrated with focusing. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to detach. I'm okay. I can get this. I want this thing. I want it so much. My life is good. Like, it's going to be fine if I don't get it. And so that's just how I choose to do it. Now, some people find that sort of framework of detachment triggering. Like they hear, I'm going to be fine if I don't get it. And they feel like, but I'm not going to be fine. If you have that feeling, that's okay. You just want to find an approach that feels good to you, right? If that's how you're feeling, then go back to the focusing work. But also I want to encourage you to try to get to that place where you feel like you're going to be okay. Because really, I mean, like, really and truly, you are going to be okay. You are going to be okay if you don't get back together with your specific person or whatever it is, whatever your manifestation is, and try to focus on that if you can. If you can't, continue to focus on your focusing work. Continue to do a technique or focus on getting what you want. Stay there until you can feel good about moving to detachment. Now, if detachment feels hard, don't feel like detachment is a necessary step to getting your manifestation. Detachment to me is a step that helps you feel better while you're waiting for your manifestation to come into your 3D reality. Remember, creation is finished. Your manifestation is already here. But like most of us are doing this because we want proof. We want proof in our 3D reality. We want our relationship with our specific person. We want the money in our bank account. Like, that's why we're doing this. So like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being honest with yourself and being honest with the world, that you're sharing your manifestation with. Although I do want to encourage you to like make that very few people. I'm going to make an episode about not sharing widely what you're manifesting. So just think about that. Like, detachment is a step to make yourself feel better. It's not a step that's necessary usually for manifesting, although people do report, and I have found this the case, that sometimes detachment does make it feel like your manifestation comes sooner. Now, I don't think the detachment itself, and what I understand about manifesting, is the mechanism by which your manifestation comes to you. I really believe that's the focusing. But detachment does make you feel better, or can make you feel better in the meantime. Now, detachment isn't detachment from having the desire. It's just an acknowledgement that you're going to be okay, that you really want something, but you don't need it for your life to be amazing. So it's a subtle difference, but there is a difference, right? There is a difference. And so, yeah, let's just briefly let me say that again. So it's not detachment from your desire. So detachment isn't saying, I don't even want this thing anymore. Although some people get to that place and do get their desire. That is a place that sometimes people get to naturally through the manifesting process. But that's not what I'm talking about. Detachment isn't detachment from the desire. You can want what you want always. Always and forever, you can want the thing that you want. Detachment is really just detachment from the outcome. That you're going to see this in 3D reality, and you're acknowledging to yourself that you're going to be okay no matter what. You're going to be amazing no matter what. And it's just it's a self-soothing part of the process. It's to me not a necessary part of the process. It's just a self-soothing part of the process that makes you feel better. And then just understanding that manifestation is real and it's possible. That's just really my last step, is that like I go to like, you know what, manifestation is real. I'm doing this and it's possible and I'm going to get what I want. So that is the steps of manifesting, and that's just a little explanation about focusing or detachment. Which one is it? It's really, it can be both things. It's really the focusing. That's my answer. But if focusing does get to this place, like detachment is definitely a great tool to have in your toolkit. It's definitely a great thing to do. It's also, you're not doing them, I should have said this earlier, you're not doing them at the exact same time, right? You're doing your focusing work, and during your focusing work, you're not detaching, right? You're focusing. And then if the focusing work becomes too much, or whatever word you want to put on it, you're just like kind of sick of it, or you're frustrated, then you move to detachment as a way to self-soothe. So you focus and then you detach. They're two different distinct things that you do, and you do them at separate times. And then you start over again until you get your manifestation. And so may you manifest exactly what you want. Thank you so much for listening.